Rick, it's rarely that that's the drummer who carries the band's legacy. Actually, it makes sense because the original groove is the most important thing. What's for you being 10 years after now?
Well, it's actually so far it's worked out really well with the new guys. They've all dropped into it really well. We've got a few changes. We're working on some more. We want to have an album out next year. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, we started before Christmas last year. I found the three guys. We've got Sam leads on guitar and vocals. Craig Fletcher, who was with Barclay James Harvest, he's on vocals and bass.
Yes, yeah. The acoustic set almost sounded like German folk music. It's a mix between country and German.
That was our first single. I mean, we weren't really a singles band in the old days, and they kept nagging Alvin to come up with a single. That was Decca Records that we were signed to, and so he came up with that little ditty, and we thought it was rather good. It works well as the acoustic. We do 3 songs in the acoustic set.
Okay, the band is on its way to the 60th anniversary. You are 80. Music has no age.
Apparently not. I would never have thought that when I first started playing drums that I'd still be doing it at 80. Yeah. In fact, I once said that Buddy Rich was my favourite drummer, and he was playing until he was 68, I think it was. And I once said I won't be playing drums at the same age as Buddy Rich, but I've gone on a bit longer. So.
When you ask drummers where they got started, they often say with the pots of mom in the kitchen. Was it you as well? No,
my eldest brother Peter was. I had 2 brothers, Peter and John. Peter was very keen on he was always tapping on things to the radio or whatever, and then he got what we called a gramophone in those days, which was it had a wind-up handle on it, and you wound it up, and you played 78s, and you had to keep winding it because otherwise they slowed down while they were playing. And then there was a radio show on Sunday lunchtimes. It was called the Billy Cotton Band Show, and it was a full big band, and they had 3 singers and did a lot of, I suppose you'd call them covers in a way. But we used to be sitting at the dinner table, because we always used to have Sunday lunch together as the family, and we'd be tapping with the knives and forks. And my father used to go crazy. He said, "Stop that now." I said, "Oh, I'm turning it off. I can't stand him anyway." He hated Billy Cotton. So that's how we sort of got going together, yeah.
10 years after was one of the bands who brought the blues back, British Invasion. Why the Americans had to hear the blues from the British?
Well,
they had it in the southern states.
Yeah, we picked up on the American bluesers. There was Chris Barber, famous trombone player, sorry, and he had a hit. They had a hit single in America called Petit Fleur, which was actually played on clarinet.
Yes.
And they went over to tour, and Chris got to see a lot of the black blues artists in their, home surroundings, playing in Chicago and Detroit and places like that. And he said to his manager, we've got to get some of these guys over to England, And so they brought them over on tours. And one of the stops was in Nottingham, a place called the Dancing Slipper. It's just a ballroom where they used to do dancing lessons, ballroom dancing. And Chris, they got these tours together and they put them on in those places. So Nottingham actually was sort of well schooled on the black blues artists. John Lee Hooker would come over, Big Bill Brunsey. They were. In fact, we do a song that Alvin wrote. We'll do it in the acoustic set tonight, which is called "Don't Want You Woman," and that's based on a Brunsey style song.
But the Americans had no blues bands when you came.
Well, no, it's strange that. Yeah, that's right. But and I think partly that was that the black players weren't allowed to play in white halls in the early days, and it was only when the British bands came through and the influences were realised, that the people, the black blues players, were able to expand from what they, where they were held down, really.
Okay, that's one reason. You're one of only a few are alive who played Woodstock, so I have to ask you, the festival in the mud, would you have guessed back then that it would be talked about until today?
No, not really. No, but it was the first, and I think the best of its kind. Although, if you look at the film, you'd never get the permission to build a stage like it was, and there was no covering over it for rain. All the sort of health considerations today would never have gone ahead with that at all, the way it was. It was fantastic, and it was, as I say, it was the first of its kind, and it's the only one I think did what it said on the tin. A festival of music, love, and peace.
And many of who weren't there are still kicking themselves. I've read that Joni Mitchell's manager said, "Oh, you don't have to play there." How you came in?
Well, our manager Chris Wright had been turning it down. Frank Barcelona, our agent, had been saying there's going to be this festival upstate, and it's going to be quite big. It's going to be about 50,000 people, which is what they thought it was, which was a big festival for those days. And he said, "What's the money?" And the money wasn't great. We were earning. I think we were getting paid more in the auditoria that we were playing when we were supporting people like Frank Zappa, Blood, Sweat and Tears, all these different American bands. Frank was very good at packaging people, and that's what he did with us, and a lot of other bands. But he finally went back to Chris Wright. He said, you got to do this. You'd be crazy not to. He said, Janis has signed. Who else was? Oh, Jefferson Airplane has signed, and Hendrix has signed. You've got to be crazy not to do this, And so, luckily, we did it.
Playing today for rock legends, I see it in the audience. It's a wonderful journey back in time. You feel young again, also because you guys are still there. What's the connection with the audience for you today?
Oh, what it's always been is to put on the best possible show that we can. We do a lot of the old CYA songs. As I said earlier, we're working on getting an album together for next year. So, and I think people, like the songs. That was, I'm Going Home was the one that they chose from the film. Alvid and I used to discuss it and wonder if it had been a different story if we'd done Good Morning Little Schoolgirl or something like that, which is what we were doing that then. We're still doing it now. So, it's difficult to say, but they picked it for the film, so it was 1970 actually when we went stratospheric, as it were,
yes,
because of the film.
And drumming is an instrument you can play forever. You can sit.
You said that, not me. I said I wasn't going to go as far as Buddy Rich. I've got arthritis, so it's not as simple as it used to be. But I still do the warm-up practice and everything that I have to do. In fact, the easiest way is when the previous lineup decided to retire, that was Marcus Sponfanti, Colin Hodgkins and Chick Churchill. They decided to retire, and Marcus said to me, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, one of my favourite jazz drummers was still going when he was 84, so I said, I'm targeting that. So we'll see what happens."